Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to Weather on the Go's weather forecast here. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday out there. In this video, I will be talking to you guys about severe weather, flash flooding, a major heat wave into early August, as well as your full tropical weather update. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday morning, and more importantly, a great week out there. Let's look at the past rainfall here over the past 24 hours. You can see across portions of Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, getting through the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic. Some of these areas did actually see in those purple shaded areas and even those maroon red shaded areas, in excess of 2 inches of rainfall down towards the Charleston, West Virginia area into portions of eastern Kentucky, and then another swath here from St. Louis all the way down towards portions there of Mount Vernon, Illinois, Evansville, Indiana, and then back just south of the Kansas City area. This is all here in just the past 24 hours, and we have more rainfall on the way here. We got kind of a frontal boundary continuing to slowly kind of meander its way southward here over the next couple of days, and as it does so here, as we head into this afternoon, we'll have all that moisture, transporting its way up to the north across portions of the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic, squeezing out that moisture, and yes, we'll be seeing some more heavy rainfall as well. We will also be seeing some severe weather potential here with all that moisture present and all the instability starting to build as we get into this afternoon and evening as well. The Storm Prediction Center has actually highlighted an upgrade here across portions of New England, across eastern New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as Massachusetts, including the Boston area and Hartford there in Connecticut here, potentially for some severe weather and scattered coverage across the area as we head into later this afternoon and this evening. Even a marginal risk extending down towards Washington, D.C., the New York City area, as well as portions there into West Virginia, and portions there of eastern Kentucky. Another marginal risk across the lower Missouri Valley into the western Tennessee Valley as well, and then a couple marginal risk zones for some isolated strong to severe weather across the front range of the Rockies and then kind of down into the Texas Panhandle as well. Looking kind of at each individual kind of risk as we head into the afternoon and evening, you can see that 15% shaded area for some enhanced potential for some damaging wind gusts that could be up to near 65, 70 miles per hour, the strongest here in those areas from eastern New York into Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as toward the Boston area here into Massachusetts, getting into portions there of Connecticut and northern Rhode Island as well. And then those 5% areas are from damaging winds from the front range of the Rockies, the Texas Panhandle, all the way eastward across the lower Missouri Valley as well. Not looking at too big of a deal for hail, but we still could have some hail that could be up to near, quarter, $half size here at the highest. But I'm not really thinking we're going to get too much in the, hail in the hail department here today. But we do have a 2% chance here of tornadoes across the Northeast as well. So we could have an isolated brief spin up tornado across, again, eastern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as portions there of west central Massachusetts and portions there of Connecticut as well. So kind of breaking this down here across the Northeast and why we have that slight risk for severe weather and why the Storm Prediction Center did issue that. You can see the instability will start to grow a little bit as we head into the afternoon. Some weak instability, kind of generally 500 to 1,000 joules per kilogram, so not really high up on the chart. But what we're seeing is a lot of kind of shear in the environment here out of the west-southwest. We're seeing some shear values, in over 40 knots across this area into New York State, getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, and portions there of the I-95 corridor from Boston to New York City. So we're starting to see a little bit more shear, so kind of a high shear, low caped environment here as we move into later this afternoon and this evening. Again, that's why I'm not really too worried about the hail threat. The lapse rates are really not that strong today. The cooler, the higher you go up in the atmosphere, the cooler the column of the atmosphere becomes, and the higher the lapse rates here, the stronger, the cooling is aloft. So we're really not seeing too much of that today. So I'm really thinking the hail threat's going to be kind of muted as we head into the afternoon and evening. Timing this out here using the HRRR model, guys, we got some shower storms lining up from portions of western New York State, northwestern portions there of Pennsylvania, perhaps as far back as far west as the Pittsburgh area. This is as we get into the the early afternoon hours, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But as we kind of extend here, the HRRR to about late this afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock time frame, we can see some more coverage of some scattered showers and storms developing from portions of Quebec all the way down into eastern portions of Ontario, as well as across portions of the Northeast here from New York State through Vermont, New Hampshire, and then getting down into eastern portions there of Pennsylvania. And some of these storms could rotate. We do have a little bit of wind shear in the environment and enough instability to get 1 or 2 of these storms to become supercells that could rotate with maybe even some enhanced damaging wind potential with, those damaging wind gusts that could be up to around 70 miles per hour at the strongest. Again, not really looking at too much of a hail threat, but then I think as we get toward late this afternoon and early this evening, that tornado potential will start to kind of wane a little bit. This will turn more into a heavy rain and damaging wind threat as it moves into portions of western Maine and across Vermont, New Hampshire as well. Even a couple of feistier storms getting down into portions of New Jersey and southern New York State toward the New York City area as we head into the early evening hours. But kind of zooming this out a little bit using the RAP model, you can see just to the west, we got a lot of heavy rainfall across the Ohio Valley, getting back into the Central Plains. That's your flash flooding threat as we head here into this afternoon. And that just continues to, with all that moisture moving up to the north across these areas, right along that boundary, you can expect some persistent rains from portions of the Front Range of the Rockies eastward through Kansas, getting into the Missouri Valley and portions of the Ohio Valley as well. Very beneficial rains as well, especially across Kansas there, and any rainfall that can fall in Oklahoma, the Texas Panhandle, eastern Colorado. Very welcomed rain across that area as well. And you can see here the rainfall amounts here just today alone. You could expect some rainfall around 1 inch to 2 inches from portions of the Tennessee and Ohio valleys westward towards portions of Kansas, northern Oklahoma, the northern Texas Panhandle, as well as back into the Front Range of the Rockies here as well. Lighter rainfall amounts across the I-95 corridor and getting up into New England there with that kind of frontal boundary moving through with some of the stronger storms. Generally kind of a 1/4 inch to a 3/4 of an inch of rainfall on average, so kind of around a 1/2 inch on average with some of those heavier rainfall totals with those storms. And that's why they do have a marginal risk of flash flooding up into New England. But I'm more concerned about this slight and even the moderate risk for excessive rainfall and flash flooding across Kentucky, West Virginia, and then again across southeastern Colorado, northeastern portions of New Mexico, and then that long kind of extended area there of a slight risk for excessive rainfall and flash flooding across the portions of the remainder of the lower Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, getting back through the lower Missouri Valley, much of the central and southern plains, and then getting back here to the Four Corners region here with a large area under that slight risk for flash flooding. But even as we head here into your Friday afternoon, we definitely have that front starting to sag its way a little bit farther to the south, but still seeing those same areas receiving that rainfall as we head into that Friday time frame. And again, as we go into Friday, we still have that threat for some isolated strong to severe storms from portions there, the Texas Panhandle, northeastern New Mexico, getting into western Oklahoma as well, and then from portions there near the Little Rock area and southern Missouri eastward through portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, and getting into the Carolinas as well as the Virginia area, and then maybe up towards Washington, D.C. and portions there of the Delaware area as well as we get into Friday afternoon. That's mainly going to be with the threat for some damaging winds, not really looking at too much of a large hail or tornado threat on Friday. Again, we don't have a lot of instability growing, so I'm not too worried about that here. A severe weather threat overall. It's really going to be mainly the flash flooding threat as we head into Friday. You can see this is early afternoon. We got kind of a complex of showers and storms in a couple areas, one across Kansas and then another one across portions there of southern Missouri and the northern portions of Arkansas, including the Fort Smith area, the Jonesboro area, and Little Rock, Arkansas as well, perhaps moving its way over towards Memphis during the afternoon. And then we'll start to see kind of periodic showers and storms moving through as we head through the afternoon and evening hours on your Friday afternoon, perhaps getting as far south as the Red River there across southern portions of Oklahoma, North Texas, into the Texas Panhandle around Amarillo, getting back over towards portions there in northern Alabama, Mississippi, and the Carolinas toward the evening hours. And that will continue. Another complex of storms will kind of start to develop across portions of the southern plains and also the mid-south as we kind of get into the evening hours on your Friday, moving into your Saturday morning with additional chances for some heavy rainfall as well. So looking at your Friday afternoon and evening, what you can expect for rainfall, very beneficial rains across Kansas there, especially southwestern Kansas into northern Oklahoma, and then, moving its way eastward toward the southern portions there of Missouri, northern Arkansas. Yeah, some of these areas could be seeing at least 1 inch of rain. And then as you get back into northern portions of Oklahoma, southern and southwestern Kansas, some of those areas could be approaching 4 inches of rain. So, yeah, we definitely need the rainfall there here. Hopefully it doesn't fall all at once. But, yeah, some very beneficial rains for some of these areas that have, been dealing with so much drought lately. So some relief is on the way, at least for portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and perhaps the Texas Panhandle on westward here for the next couple of days. But I'm still worried about that flash flooding potential. The Weather Prediction Center is still predicting a moderate risk here for flash flooding and excessive rainfall across southwestern Kansas, southeastern portions there of Oklahoma as well, or of Colorado rather, and we still have a slight risk for some flash flooding across portions of the Four Corners as well, kind of extending its way over towards the lower Missouri Valley, the Mid-South, and even the Tennessee Valley, including Nashville, Knoxville, and portions there of the Little Rock area as we head into that Friday afternoon and evening time frame as well. But even as we get into early this weekend here on Saturday, we still got that kind of stationary boundary with a little bit of a cold front on the eastern side of that across portions of the southeast, slowly meandering to the south once again, but still those same areas getting affected by that rainfall and all that moisture out there on Saturday. And this is kind of your rainfall totals as you head through, Saturday midday through about Sunday midday. Yeah, this is what you can expect here across the lower Missouri Valley. Some heavy rainfall into southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma. Some of these areas could approach 2 inches of rain, locally 3 inches potentially, and then some heavier rains, especially into eastern North Carolina there on Saturday as well, with some of those areas in the outer banks of the Carolinas, especially the outer banks of North Carolina, approaching 3 inches of rain as we head here into your Saturday as well. And then Sunday, another swath of heavy rainfall back across Tennessee, portions of Kentucky, getting into the outer banks here of the Virginia area and North Carolina as we head into Sunday. Again, the bullseye looks to be across west central portions there of Kentucky, as well as northern and in northeastern Tennessee there as we kind of head into that Sunday time frame. Again, an additional 1 to 3 plus inches could be falling again additionally on all the rainfall we've received over these areas as we head into Sunday. And then looking at the temperature department out there, guys, yeah, you can see on Thursday here today we got some heat out there. We got 100 degrees towards portions of Texarkana, 102 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, 104 here in Wichita Falls. But looking off to the west, we still got that heat wave really kind of staying anchored across the western United States here, 109s, 110s across portions of Washington, down towards Oregon, 114 here into northern California. So we got all that heat out there. But looking across the middle and kind of northern U.S. here, look at that across portions there of Minnesota, Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. Some of these areas might struggle to reach 70 degrees this afternoon. So a very kind of refreshing air mass across those areas as we head into this afternoon. We'll start to heat up a little bit as we head into Friday across the northern and especially the northwestern plains up into Montana, getting up into portions of Wyoming there. But look at all the heat continuing along the Gulf Coast there from Texas all the way up into the Carolinas here, and then really that heat expanding across portions of the western United States through Washington, Idaho, Oregon, portions there, Nevada, as well as California and even Utah as well as we kind of move into that Friday time frame. And that just continues to expand a little bit as we head here into that Saturday, July 30th time frame, and the same really holds true for Sunday as that heat starts to expand a little further to the east across the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and even some of the the southern plains, still dealing with 100-degree heat across portions there of central and eastern Texas on your Sunday to kind of conclude the month of July. But as we kind of open the door on August, we definitely have a signal. The Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from August 2nd through the 6th time frame is showing likely, if not certainly, above normal temperatures across the Midwest, and kind of moving its way over towards the Northeast here with time. But mostly areas along and east of the Rocky Mountains are going to generally be in some shape or form above normal temperature-wise from August 2nd through the 6th. We got kind of that monsoon weather continuing across portions of the desert Southwest, so you'll have below normal temperatures there. We'd have a pretty stout upper-level trough across portions here of the Aleutian Islands that'll kind of dig in towards the Pacific Northwest, and that will kind of bring some below normal temperatures there as well for portions there of Washington, Oregon, and even portions there of South Central Alaska as we kind of move into that August 2nd through the 6th time frame here as well. But underneath that ridge, again, we all know underneath the ridge here, we don't have a lot of rising air. We got a lot of sinking air underneath that high pressure system, so we have below normal precipitation expected across the central southern plains, getting into North Texas again, unfortunately, and across portions of the Ohio Valley where they desperately could use a little bit of a dry spell, and then over there kind of into the Northeast as well. But across the West Coast, yeah, we can expect here the monsoon weather to really crank up as we kind of move through that August 2nd through the 6th time frame. The Four Corners region, Utah, portions of western Colorado, northwestern portions there of New Mexico, and much of Arizona, especially northern Arizona there. Yeah, we could expect well above normal precipitation, and even a little bit of a signal in Alaska as well. If you guys are traveling for vacation up into Alaska, above normal precipitation in eastern Alaska, especially as we move through that August 2nd through the 6th time frame as well. But kind of looking at this with kind of the upper level heights here, kind of showing you where the stronger heating will be with this ridge as it pushes to the east early next week. You can see that kind of anchored across the southwestern United States here at first, but as we kind of move towards the the middle of next week, towards that Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, that really starts to expand to the east here, and then by the time we get into Wednesday, that high pressure system will be right over the central and southern plains here, with kind of that upper level trough I was mentioning here, kind of digging in towards the Pacific Northwest as we move into that Wednesday time frame. And let's kind of zoom this out. This is a weather model model I do like to use very often. This is pretty accurate here as well. This is the icon model, and you can see this clearly as we head into that Monday, August 1st time frame, early next week. We got that, ridge centered across the southwestern United States, right over the Four Corners region. You got that kind of, subtle upper level trough across portions of the Aleutian Islands, extending southward toward the Pacific Northwest here towards the Seattle and Portland, Oregon areas, as well, like I said, Seattle, Washington. But as we kind of move towards Tuesday, again, this high pressure system, that ridge will start to, nose its way to the east. We still got that trough digging in across portions of the British Columbia area, Alberta, Canada, and down into the Pacific Northwest. And then we really start to kind of amplify this ridge toward the middle of next week on August 3rd and 4th time frame here, Wednesday and Thursday, as we really see a lot of heating across the Midwest there, the Ohio Valley, much of the center of the country here east of the Rockies, where we kind of have that subtle upper level trough, kind of bringing the active storm track a little bit farther north across southern Canada as we move toward the middle of next week. So looking at this here kind of with the surface temperatures here with the icon model, yeah, look at early next week, Monday, we could be in the hundreds all the way up into southern Saskatchewan, guys. So some very strong heating, 103 potentially up into portions of the Billings, Montana area. Again, still 100 to 105 down into North Texas, southern portions there of Oklahoma near the Red River. And even some mid to upper 90s, some hundreds mixed in there around portions of, Nebraska, getting into Iowa, and perhaps western Illinois as well. And this really expands as we head into Tuesday. Look at that, guys, potentially up to 110 as we head into South Dakota here in some of the, Rapid City, South Dakota area, getting up into portions of North Dakota there. But we see the cooler temperature anomalies, kind of the temperatures kind of cooler into the 70s and 80s to the north across Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. That's where the active storm track will be as we head into early next week, with kind of some clusters of storms kind of rounding this ridge, that, classic type of pattern that, around these ridges, we see a lot of that storm action. That will be up and across the southern and central Canadian prairies on your Tuesday. And just look at the heat really intensify, really expand on your Wednesday, August 3rd, guys. We could be at 100 degrees here in Madison, Wisconsin, 105 here in the portions there of Des Moines, Iowa, 110 towards the Omaha area, as well as Sioux Falls, 103 down in Dallas-Fort Worth here, even 104 up toward the Twin Cities there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So this is what we're talking about. And even look at that in Toronto there, guys, approaching 90 degrees in the Toronto area as well. So a lot of heat expanding as we head toward the middle of next week. That is for sure. But again, regarding that active storm track, you can see all that precipitation in the European forecast model all the way up into portions of Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan, and even portions of Manitoba. As we move into that, Monday afternoon time frame on August 1st, some models do have a little bit of precipitation getting down across the Ohio Valley, perhaps into the western Great Lakes on Monday. We'll have to watch this because some models are showing some instability building with some decent shear starting to develop here ahead of kind of a frontal boundary. So we'll have to kind of watch this kind of on the leading edge of all that heat as we head into your Monday afternoon time frame. Otherwise, yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of heat out there, but look at all the dew points on your Monday. Again, this is why I'm concerned for maybe an isolated to widely scattered severe weather event somewhere across the southern Great Lakes or the western Great Lakes as we head into that Monday afternoon time frame, just because we got dew points rising to the 60s to lower 70s, even some middle 70 dew points all the way down toward the Missouri Ozarks and into portions there of the deep south here as well. And then kind of looking ahead, kind of turning your attention to the tropical weather update. We got two tropical storms spinning across the eastern Pacific basin. We got Tropical Storm Georgette as well as Tropical Storm Frank, and both of these are very close in proximity to each other. You can see that here on the visible satellite. Tropical Storm Frank is the bigger of the two. That is to the south and east here of Georgette. And a lot of tall convection with this, so it's really starting to strengthen as we head here through the next couple of days. And a very smaller, compact system here of Tropical Storm Georgette is actually to the north and west of Frank. And Tropical Storm Georgette's going to kind of make a weird turn as we kind of move toward the next few days. It's going to kind of meander its way to the west-southwest and then turn more, due north as we head through the weekend into early next week here, kind of just remaining at, mid-grade to maybe high-end tropical storm status here. I don't really think this is going to become a hurricane, but looking at Tropical Storm Frank, right now this is kind of a higher-end tropical storm with, winds at around 50 miles per hour moving west at 12 miles per hour right now. This is going to turn more to the west-northwest and then northwesterly here as we head toward the weekend. And as we get to the weekend, into early Friday morning here, or even late Friday afternoon, this will start to become a hurricane here with potentially Category 1, if not Category 2 status as we head into that time frame, and kind of maintaining hurricane status all the way through the height of the weekend into the early, Monday morning hours before it starts to encounter some cooler waters across the eastern Pacific. But yeah, you can see very favorable conditions across the eastern Pacific basin with regards to these systems moving through those areas. Some very efficient, warm water conditions still, even with all the storms in the eastern Pacific, still very active here, even with some of the upswellings out there. So that is something to watch as well. But looking here across the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean, yeah, very different story. No new tropical systems here, at least the next 5 days, if not even longer, as we have a very quiet pattern, persisting across this area over the next few days. We got the high pressure system centered over central Atlantic. And again, all of these open waves that come off the African coast have just been steered way to the south. I mean, some of these waves, guys, are actually moving across northern South America. That's how far south these waves are. So they never really get a chance to move through the Lesser Antilles. They never really get a chance to get into the Western Caribbean and into the, taking advantage of some of the warmer waters in those areas up into the Gulf as well. So we're not really seeing that here, at least through the next 5 days. And I can show you that here, even with the precipitable water values here, all of the kind of higher water content here with kind of the higher moisture in the environment is actually, all the way down into the southern, very far southern portions there of the Atlantic basin, and moving over South America, and that's into portions of the Eastern Pacific basin. That's why the Eastern Pacific has been so very active, and that just continues as we head into the Monday, August 1st time frame. And then I will kind of move this all the way here to the following weekend here, Friday August 5th into Saturday August 6th, and you see that kind of persistent atmospheric river of just moisture moving off the African coast and through portions there of the southern Atlantic basin, right over northern South America, the Central Americas, and into the Eastern Pacific basin. That's kind of the pattern that we're seeing persisting with the high pressure system here across the central Atlantic basin. We're really not seeing a chance for this flow to kind of steer any of these waves or these systems here into the Caribbean or the Gulf here right now. Let's kind of look ahead a little bit towards August. You kind of see a little bit of a signal there for some of these waves coming off Africa. Yeah, they could become, tropical storms or tropical, depressions or, stuff like that. But really, as we get into the Eastern Pacific, that's why they've been so active. But there's not too much of a signal here, too much, in the short term in early August. But as we get toward the middle and late portion of August, there's a little bit of a signal here around Florida, the outer banks here, Carolinas, as well as the East Coast, that we could have a little bit of above normal precipitation. And you always got to wonder, during that period, will we have, tropical entities start to trying to develop and take advantage of those warmer waters in the mid to late August? So we'll kind of have to watch that here. But moving into September, for sure, we're starting to see a signal here as well of especially the western and northern Gulf really starting to heat up with the precipitation anomalies, especially, when you have a warm Gulf like we do here, and then kind of moving over portions of the southeast and the Florida Panhandle and then portions of the East Coast. We definitely have to watch September. I think September is going to be very busy here. And then even looking ahead briefly to October, yeah, October is still very active, I think, across the Caribbean, the Central Americas here, as well as portions of the Gulf. Central America could also be a hot spot here as well. If you have any vacation plans here in October to Central America, yeah, we could be even seeing some tropical systems and storms down there as well, potentially even hurricanes here. If not the U.S., the Central Americas could be very busy into September and October as well. Well, guys, thank you guys for joining here and watching the video here today. Definitely much appreciated. Again, remember to like my video, give me a thumbs up down below, and also remember to, put down any comments, questions, and concerns. I'll definitely be answering those later on today. And also, guys, definitely be much appreciated if you guys would hit that subscribe button all the way here down at the bottom of the screen. Again, all you guys got to do is press that subscribe button one time, and I promise you, you'll have great weather content upcoming here. We got lots of awesome weather content coming up your way. Well, lots of great, breakdown of the weather pattern here coming up in my next few videos here as we get, closer to the weekend time frame. So, guys, thank you for watching. Again, I hope everybody has a great Thursday out there and the rest of their week, and I will see you in the next video here tomorrow morning.